fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hard to believe that it's been almost 6 years since Star Trek Fleet Command came out, and well, this month we've got an anniversary present for you to decide. Now, in your claims chest, every day, hopefully you've been logging in and collecting the 10 free shards that you're getting for officers. So we've had, random officers to some, but good officers to others, and it doesn't matter whether you like them or dislike them, there's 10 free officer shards every day. Well, if you've been doing that, you've unlocked that right there. So it allows you to complete an event, and once you do that event, you're going to get this token that allows you to choose an officer of your choosing from a list. And that list is, well, quite extensive. And I want to take this opportunity to explain what I would recommend for various players across the game. So with all these anniversary officers right here, I'm going to go one by one, starting with the ones I have the most value on, but kind of making a case for all of them because it is a free epic, and not often do you get a free epic. So it's really cool that we have this opportunity. So as you peruse through these, the number one thing I'm going to say that differentiates most players is obviously what level are you, which is going to determine the sourcing. Because believe it or not, every officer in this list has sourcing in the game based on your level. Example, Jayla can be sourced by running rare swarmadas. The person who runs the rare swarmada, like you launch it, has a very small, about 10-15% chance of getting Jayla shards. It's not exactly good sourcing though. Enterprise E Riker is part of like the really slow ISO drip officer runs. Takes a while to get him, but he's there. So they all have sourcing, but maybe you're not that level yet, or maybe you just simply don't like how slow it moves. In terms of value, let's start with our lower level players. And when I say lower level, I'm talking players under level 40. If you're in the 20s and 30s, this applies to you. And this is, I think, every player level 19 and above will have this opportunity. So if I am below that level, one of my main ones is Cisco. So before anybody says anything, yes, you're absolutely right. Cisco is available to be had in the transporter pattern store, but a lot of low-level players do not have transporter patterns. If you do have transporter patterns, ignore this recommendation. If you do not have transporter patterns yet, Cisco is a big one. Why? Because he is one of the best Armada officers in the game, if not the best singular Armada officer in the game. There is some debate there with a couple other good officers, but giving you the kind of the same benefit that you would get from 511, combining that with Khan in terms of combat ability. So really opens things up for you early on as a low level player. You could be level 20 participating in your alliance armadas. You could be level 35 doing your own solo armadas. Cisco is going to help out, and he doesn't really have sourcing until 40 and above. So it gives lower level players a huge jump up, and they can take advantage of all of his abilities. Moving on to another one for lower level players is Enterprise EPOC. Why is this one a good one? Giving you another, and sometimes depending on what you're fighting for a low level player, better secondary hostile grinding crew. Don't forget that as you're upgrading your building, your holodeck building, you can actually get Enterprise E data for free. So that means that you'd have Picard and Data able to run them, and that's one of the main groups that I run, specifically just to show y'all what building I'm referring to for those that don't know. As you're upgrading this one right here. So as you upgrade the holodeck and as you get more stuff for it, whether it be from events, battle passes, etc., you're able to get more officer shards to Enterprise E Data and Enterprise E Troy right down here. You got to go all the way past transporter patterns and then that bucket back there. But let's get back to the officer recommendations. So number one, Cisco for lower levels. Number two, Enterprise EPOC. But more than just that, there are a couple other that are really, really good. Another one that will be considered by many is 5 of 11. Loot officer, mitigation officer, very good. Depends on what you value the most. And then finally, for my low levels, Janeway, another very, very good PvE officer. These would be my top 4 if you're a lower level player. If you are a higher level player, I want to include Janeway in this conversation because Janeway is one of the primary ones that I would choose if I was a player who had all these officers unlocked and I didn't really care about, maybe unlocking Jayla, who I don't have, and maybe you're not a collector, but you just want to get a tier up on a good officer. Janeway is a good one. Getting that officer ability up a tick is going to help you out in a lot of ways, as you can see here with the ISO Cascade. So that is going to give you an Armada boost and a hostile boost in conjunction with her having a very good captain's ability. Janeway is another good unlock, but one that I would focus on tiering. Now, I do want to add into this, if you are above level 40, one of the features that's really come to the game that is impacting a lot of players, an opportunity for you to excel is PvP. Well, there is a very, very good PvP officer sitting here, 7 of 9. I want to point out, just like I talked about with Janeway, working with armadas, you do have a dual use here with 7 of 9. 7 of 9 has an officer ability that gives you more critical damage versus armadas, which is good. But below decks is a big isolated cascade booster against players. This is a primo below deck. I would say 7 of 9 and Kira Nerys are probably your two most important below deck PvP officers in the game right now. You can argue a couple other things, but either way, very good. So if you are a player in the 40s wanting to do arenas and increase your actual ability to fight others, 7 of 9 has a lot of value. In that same vein, I do not think Borg Queen has the same level of value, but if you do like to run the assimilate sets, she can help you out there. Now, those are really it for my recommendations. There are other officers here that are worth looking at. For example, Strike Team La'an, a Battleship Strike Team officer, is quite good to have if you are, PvPing as a lower level. That's right here. It's not showing up, but Strike Team La'an, even immediate sourcing for that. Very, very useful. Pike is a good officer to have, but remember, once you get the Mantis in the low 30s, you can start sourcing Pike pretty quickly, hence why I'm not recommending him, but he is a good officer. And we even discussed how if you really hate pirates like Rev Deuce, like you can't stand him, he's the worst player. The mining is the best part of this game, and people who, touch my ships get on my last nerve. Well, then maybe you want some broccoli in your diet because he increases your protected cargo. And yes, protected cargo helps prevent people like Rev from hitting you because if you're not OPC, I'm not going to hit your miner. So an argument can be made for basically every officer on the list. The most important ones for lower levels, Cisco, Enterprise E, Picard, Janeway, 5 of 11. Higher levels, tiering up your PvP officers is really important. But I'd also say that, you might want to consider PvE, where I'm looking at Janeway and Enterprise E Picard even more. I do want to put out a caveat. If you're a higher level player, somebody like Phlox can be very beneficial for late level hostile grinding. Not as needed if you're a mid or lower level player, but can be useful. But higher levels might want to look at getting Phlox if maybe they didn't go after him during the Enterprise arc. Archer and Trip Tucker are very mad to me, but if you want to add them to your loop, there's no wrong answer here because all these officers can find a use, whether it be niche or whether it be widespread. So there are my general recommendations. Last, Odo, sorry, not getting much of a recommend from me, but below deck ability, 20%, it's not bad, but get Odo if you don't have him. And if you're wondering why I didn't see Dax. Dax is a great solo armada officer, but that's the key. She's limited to solo armadas, so Cisco to me is more valuable, but if you just love Dax like I did, had a huge crush on her when I was a kid, go after her. There's the recommendations. There's the answers. Hope it helped you out. Quick video by request of the players. Live long and plunder. Stay safe in the Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on tomorrow's video. We'll be grading this month. Curious to see what you say. Love you and appreciate you. We're out.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.